2 seconds. You're live.
It must be Monday because we're hanging out with Coast of Maine and Farm to Table Kids. Welcome to Coast of Maine at noon. We are going to be field prepping and planting today. So Cameron, welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's beautiful out here. Yeah, go ahead.
Cameron is here from Coast of Maine, so he's going to answer any questions.
Everything.
He loves really technical biological questions. So get those coming in, okay? He'll send a hat to everybody that has biological questions. We're going to plant today and show you how to prep your bed, okay? Because it is, I think it's May 22nd or something around that date.
Yeah.
So we're at the end of Maine here in May in zone 5B, and it's time to get our beds ready and our plants out. So some of the things we're going to be doing today is show you how to prep your bed and also how to plant some cold hardy things and also some warm hardy things. So what we're going to do is talk about soil. So with this garden bed, and you can see around, we are at the Farm to Table Kids camp, and we grow wholesale here, so we grow a lot of stuff here.
Yeah.
So some of the fields are obviously set up as a mass planting, but we're going to show you how to set up this 10 by 20 space for your home garden. So every year at Farm to Table Kids, we are really trying to get to a no-till farm method here. I'm very happy to say that this field is so close to no-till. By next year, this field will be 100% no-till. Right now, we did till it once this spring, and that's because there was just so much compaction from snow and all kinds of debris from the winter months. But we only till once, and hopefully this is the last time we till this field. So after your field is prepped, where your soil has been loosened, you can either broad fork is the best way to do that. So if you have a broad fork to loosen your soil, that's ideal. If you don't have a broad fork, honestly guys, just take a shovel and work your soil. You want to turn it over to loosen up the soil so that when you put your roots in there, they'll be able to just grow nice and healthy. So like I said, I tilled this just once with a pass, and then if you don't have anything like that, use a rake, use a shovel, just loosen that soil so it's not compacted from the winter. Now this is a 10 by 20 space here, and what I'm going to do now that my soil is already nice and loose, I'm actually going to make 2 beds out of this. The reason I'm doing that is because when you are reaching over your garden bed, you want to be able to access it from both sides. You don't want any part of your garden to not be able to be touched, because then you're guaranteed to have weeds. And I'm going to do my best to keep a straight line. And we're just
Have you ever kept a straight line?
No, look around. There are no straight lines here.
No, it looks pretty good actually.
If it's a straight line, it's because Farmer Care's too good at it. So we are just digging a hole in a trench here. And this is also great if you're farming with kids. You really want a trench to be able to show kids where to walk. Another thing that I use once I have all of my trenches dug is I put wood chips in the rows, and that helps with weed suppression, and also, again, gives kids an idea of where to walk.
And you don't use any landscaping fabric or anything like that, right?
For this, we're not. For tomatoes, we'll do like 600 tomatoes, and for something like that, we do. But as you can see behind me, those snapdragons,
Yeah.
those are all loosely planted, and peppers are going to go in the fabric
Okay.
behind that. And that's just because peppers do well with heat. Okay, so I've got my trench and my dog. Hi, Cameron.
Tractor. We love tractor.
So now, this is my favorite garden tool. The broad fork's my favorite. This is my second favorite. This is just a bed rake. And what we're going to do, look at that! Doesn't it get you excited? Doesn't it get
Well,
you going?
yes, now that you say
Come
so.
on. Cameron, you're a soil guy. Does this get you excited?
Oh yeah, we're digging in there. We're almost no-till. It's all broken up easily. I mean,
Good.
that's the other thing that you were talking about with no-till. The reason that it's all broken up is all that cool biology that's going on.
Let's talk about that. That's the problem. When people till, you're taking all of that beautiful soil on the top that's already been passed through with worms and insects and all those wonderful things.
They got a subway. Yep. Yep.
And then a tiller takes all the crummy soil from down below.
It brings it up to the top.
So that's what So now we're going to...
We even have some of Steph's helpers in the background.
Those are some
Yeah.
seniors volunteering from Greeley High School.
Great
It's
program.
Yes. And so they volunteer at the farm this week and last week. And they're on their way to weed radishes.
It's awesome.
Okay. So as you can see, we have 2 beds here. Now you guys, ask any questions as we go because everyone's garden space is different. Everyone has different soil. So totally ask questions as we go and we'll do our best to answer them.
Okay, Angie, Rick, Sharon, watching that I can see right now. Go ask whatever you want.
We are going to see how the soil is nice and loose. That's so good to plant into. It's going to be great. Okay. Now, I have 2 garden beds here. It's still late May. We could get frost. I don't think we will, but we could. So what I'm going to do is separate the beds. One's going to be cold hardy. The other one's going to be weather sensitive. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because if I have to cover my tomatoes or peppers, I'll be able to do that on one bed rather than having to do both. Okay? So that's the kind of stuff you just want to think about when you're planting your garden. You want to think about weather and you want to think about what these look like at full maturity. Because when they're big, like a tomato plant, it's going to look
Oh yeah, it's going to get huge.
so much different than what it does right now. So we want to be mindful of that when we are planting. The other thing, always have access to the back of your seed packets or have your phone with you so you can log on to wherever you bought your seeds to look at things like spacing requirements and how long germination takes and things like that. Always pay attention to the back of your seed packets for that. You'll notice that some of the things we're going to be planting are already sprouted and some are going to be from seed. So we're just going to start planting and I'll let you know my rhyme and reason as to why I do certain things. So guys, label! Always bring
the label.
with you to the farm. I'm doing really good with my labels this year. Really proud.
I mean, you've been focusing on your labels. You've been working on that stuff. I just
trying
want to
so
say I'm
hard.
proud of you.
Thank
You know.
you. I feel like setting intentions really work. So with spinach loves the cold, so it's really great that we're getting this out now. I like to just break up these little root balls. It makes me feel better. As you can see, when I put these in the ground, I'm just breaking up these little clumps, but when I put these in the ground, I am not pressing firmly around them. I'm just breaking up
Yep.
their little shells, and then I like to do a chevron pattern where you kind of make threes out of them. It maximizes your space. And spinach is awesome to grow during this time of year because it really does thrive in cool climates. And it's great for kids to use for veggie wraps, spinach wraps. My kids actually are eating those in their lunch boxes right now, which is crazy. Right, that's so good. Okay, we're going to continue. We have lettuce here. This is kind of going to be like a salad-themed garden over here. And then I'm going to do things that we eat over here.
Okay.
So I'm going to continue the things that love cold New England temperatures, like this kale. Kale's going to go in there, and this kale can get really big if you let it go all season, which I intend to do. As long as you keep harvesting kale from the outer leaves, like that, it will keep producing throughout the year. Another thing to mention when you're planting transplants that you might get at a farmer's market or a farm stand, go ahead and take off the leaves that look kind of old and tired because they're old and tired. So go ahead and put those in.
Plus, I'll just be using up energy that's not going to the
Exactly.
plant.
And as I say that, I'm going to go through and pluck these off real quick too. Cool. Kale will love this temperature. This is good spacing for kale because, like I said, when this plant grows, I mean, it can continue, as long as you continue to harvest, it can grow about this big and this wide. So you just have to be really mindful of that. And guys, if you don't know what the maturity looks like of these plants, that's what catalogs are for. Like, you can look it up online. It will give you all of that information. So as you can see, I'm just kind of continuing with this chevron pattern, which goes front, back, middle.
I have to say, I didn't know what a chevron pattern was. unfortunately. No.
Oh,
Now see, that's why I try to stay. That's why I try not to speak. You know.
Okay. The other thing I like to put with these are all greens so far, so we're going to continue that theme with some romaine. Romaine is beautiful. You can harvest it by the leaf or by the head. I like to harvest my romaine by the head, meaning you just cut it and it'll actually grow back again, which is lovely. I'm going to use this red leaf lettuce to put over here. And this is an awesome big bushy lettuce leaf. You harvest the leaves one at a time and that will continually generate for you. And then this arugula, I'm going to
Same with the leaves on the outside?
Yes, harvest from the outside in. And then this arugula is also cut and come again. So I would actually go back and I would put like 5 more arugula in here. 2 arugula plants isn't going to get you very much. So I would go back through and add 2 rows of arugula here. So I'll get more arugula. I need more seedlings for that. Romaine, keep labeling. Okay, so this is our bed that has all crops that like cold weather. And what I like to do, because especially for home gardeners, guys, maximizing your space is so important, right? Like, it's so hard to not load everything, but if you do that, your kale won't grow to maturity. Your plants just bring your plants up with other plants to maximize your space, but also help with beneficial insects and things like that. So one thing that's awesome during this time of year to partner with plants is radish. Radish will grow in about 25 to 30 days, so they're great again for kids who are eager to pull things out of the garden. Radish is a good one because they grow in 30 days, they're all different colors, and the kids, if you pickle radishes, they turn hot pink, and kids will actually try them. They're delicious. Kids love pickled things because it's basically just salt and frying. So what I'm going to do, the other thing what's great about radish is they don't need a lot of space to grow, so you can interplant them really beautifully. So I'm just going to take my finger and draw a little trench down the side of my garden. And Cameron, how deep do we need to plant these seeds?
Just twice the depth of the seed.
You got it, man!
See?
That's right.
I nailed it. I'm done.
You're done. Cameron, your week's over.
I give up.
You only have to plant a seed doublets with, like Cameron said. So with radish, I'm just going to go through and sprinkle these on. I tell the kids sprinkle them like you're putting sprinkles on a birthday cake. Just go through, sprinkle them in, and then cover them up. And then, again, guys, I am not patting these down. Think about how much work and effort goes into a seedling trying to sprout and emerge. So I don't want to make it harder on them. I'm just going to do that, cover them up, and label them. Another great thing to interplant is carrots, turnips, anything like that, a root veg, is awesome to interplant because while all this stuff is growing, it's going to take its time growing too, but radish is the fastest to interplant with. Okay, now we're going over to our warm bed. This bed is going to have tomatoes, peppers, and things that like heat. The reason I'm putting them separate from the things that like cold weather is because we're in Maine, it's still May, we're still going to get a frost, we just will. So I'll be able to cover these things with Romaine to protect it from any frost that we might get, and that way I only have to cover one bed and not 2. With tomatoes, I love growing tomatoes. With a tomato, it's either going to be determinate, which is a bush, or indeterminate, which is very long and needs staking and pruning.
Okay.
I grow mostly indeterminates because I like to make things harder on myself. Just kidding. I grow mostly indeterminates because they're high yielding, great producers, and they have a good disease package resistance. With tomatoes, again, take off any leaves that look tired and yellow, and also take off these suckers. We're gonna go ahead and take those off too. The best part about this is it smells like summer! It smells like summer, yes! So we're gonna take off these suckers and this branch because it looks spotted and yellow. And I'm actually gonna plant right up to here. So this tomato plant as we talked about, I did a chevron pattern in the last field to maximize space.
Glad I know what that is now.
Now that you know what that is,
Yeah.
this is going to go linear. So we're going to keep this straight because it's going to need a lot more room. So with this tomato plant, again, plant all the way down to the first leaf. I know that it makes that tomato look half the size that it was, but that is how you get a really strong stem,
Yeah.
so it won't be brittle. It'll be able to withstand weather like rain and wind, and it's just healthier for the plant. The healthier plant, the healthier it does against pests and disease too. So that's why it's really
Absolutely. That's a huge part of the whole
It's a
thing is the
huge
healthy
part.
plants.
Yeah, people always want to talk about organic disease or organic pest management. The absolute best thing you can do is let airflow get to your plant, period. So the best way to do that is to keep it pruned, keep it spaced out from your other plants, and keep it weeded. So, but giving it space is half the battle. With tomatoes, about giving space, I always do 18 to 24 inches based on the variety. Here is a perfect example. Pop that off, pop that off, pop that off. Take off the suckers. And this lovely little brandywine is ready for its permanent home. Goodbye, brandywine. Have a great time in there. So what's cool is that all of these little foliar spikes, those little hairs, actually have the capacity to grow roots. So that's why we put it that far down in the soil. Those hairs are going to produce roots, and it's going to make this brandywine so much more healthier and stronger for our Maine season. Now the other thing that is very sensitive to cold are peppers. We love our peppers. The kids love to eat the peppers, so I want to protect them. I am not planting my peppers out just yet. I have a few planted in front of the greenhouse because I can easily protect them if I need to. But honestly, I'll probably wait another week to put out my wholesale peppers. And these ones you don't plant like a tomato, you just plant right up to the soil line on the stem. You don't bury these ones. You can see they do not have foliar hairs like tomatoes do. That's unique to tomatoes. So only plant deeply like that with tomatoes. And because peppers don't get as big as tomatoes, I can do my chevron pattern with them here because they're kind of a more compact, space-saving plant. Another thing I like to plant with my tomatoes are beans, bush beans. Because bush beans, especially if you're trying to garden in a home garden where you have limited space, using bush beans along your border is a great way to interplant. So I like to make a mix called trilogy. I'll get a purple bean, a green bean, and a yellow bean, and I mix them all together, and then you have a beautiful, colorful mix of beans. And with beans, they're awesome to plant with kids because they're easy to hold. They're easy to hold, and kids understand what they are and what they're going to get from them. So with beans, and they'll sprout really quick, which is also fun to see. So with these, again, I'm going to go right along my edges, and I love beans. The kids will eat a ton of them. So you could do this with, it's getting kind of late, you could do this with peas. Peas make an awesome border, but you just need trellis if you do. When I plant my beans, you guys, when you plant outside, squirrels are going to get your seeds, chipmunks are going to get your seeds, mice are going to get your seeds. Plant one for you, one for the birds, and one for the animals, okay? So I always tell people, even on the back of a seedling packet for sunflower seeds, even for pumpkin seeds, they tell you to plant 3 seeds at a time in each hole. And that's because of critters just love them.
That's what it is. It's the critters getting in and eating them.
And so again, it doesn't have to go as deep as you think it does. And don't tamp them down. Just cover them up nice and light. And remember to label. So now we have our beans. Now, does anybody have questions so far?
No, so far we haven't gotten questions.
I have a question on
Oh, you do?
here
Nice.
From Kim. She said that she missed what the chevron pattern is. So I'll zoom in on it now. If you
See,
can explain it again.
somebody else wasn't sure what a chevron pattern was.
The chevron pattern is awesome, you guys, when you're trying to save space. It works great for plants that need spacing of, I would say, like anything 8 inches below, which is a lot of plants can fit in that. So a chevron is basically a V. So it goes 2 across, 1 in the middle. 2 across, 1 in the middle. Does that make sense? 2 on the outside, 1 in the middle. So this is the chevron. And that's a great great pattern for saving space. When you have big plants like dahlias or tomatoes, you're not going to be able to do that. You're going to want to go linearly and keep them spaced out on all sides. But for things like peppers, lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, broccoli, pretty much like most things, you can do that chevron pattern. It's basically a big W down the field. Okay, so we have prepped our beds, dug out trenches, used our rake to prep the beds. Then we planted out our cold in one bed, warm in another. And now we're just going to top dress, you guys. These seedlings that have been growing, some have been growing since February. And the only kind of feed that they've had have been through the Coast of Maine seed start mix that we started them in. So what I'm going to do right now is take my total camera.
I love that. Yep.
Absolute best all-purpose plant food you can get. It has everything. Like, look at this. Lobster, kelp, worm castings. Like, it has everything you need.
It even has some alfalfa and some fish meal that's just not on the front, but it's an amazing.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And when you open it, it smells like Maine. It smells like the Maine Ocean. So, what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take a handful and I'm going to put this around the perimeter
Nice.
of my tomato. And I'm just going to use my fingers to put it into the soil. Not doing anything crazy, but I am putting it probably like a 10-inch circumference round around the tomato base. I'm not putting it on the leaves of the tomato. Fertilizers can be hard on the plants if you put it right on the leaves. So I'm just working it in with my hands and I'm going around the plant. Another way, if you're seeding a whole bed and you have a bunch of seed in here, another way you can do it, I'll do it a different way on the next bed. So one way is to just make sure the plants get it, put it around their base, just like that in a circle. Do you see how I did it in a circle?
Yep.
Okay, it's only a handful per plant. The other way you could do it is to just broadcast it, and we can just do this with it. So this is just broadcasting, like if I were putting arugula seed down, I would broadcast arugula seed. So you can also just do it this way. You don't have to be fancy about it. In the back of the packet gives you ratios if you are interested in those, but I'm just trying to generally feed the soil.
Well, it's funny because we have those ratios and all of that. And people think they have to be exact, but a lot of it's instinct.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
It really is. Like, you're not going to...
You're not going to overburden the plant. I mean, it's organic. It's going to break down over time. It'll naturally feed that plant
So now
without burning them.
I'm taking my fingers and I'm just working it into the soil. Because the last step to a healthy garden, especially on transplant day, guys, is to water. You never want to transplant in the heat of the day. So, yeah, we're doing this at noon. But that's because we love you guys. We said it's here at noon. But typically, don't transplant at noon. But it is a cooler day, so we're okay. You don't want to transplant in the heat of the day. You always want to water in thoroughly. Like, before we even planted the stuff in the ground, all of those seedlings were drenched in the greenhouse before they came down here. So everything had, like, if you look, everything started with a really wet seed ball base, okay? So everything's drenched before it comes down here, and then we're gonna drench it again. So make sure, especially if you use fertilizer, a Stonington blend, make sure to put water in so it actually can get to the plants and do its job. Okay, so that is how you prep a garden bed and how you plant it. Do we have any questions?
We don't. There's no questions. It was a complete class.
Then it sounds like people are ready to plant.
Well, and I think they know what is it? A chevron pattern?
A chevron pattern?
Yeah, they learned that.
So that's actually
How often should we water? Wait a minute. Angie Marino, who's been on the whole time, how often should we water and what is the best time of day to do so?
great question.
There we go, Angie.
So the best time of day to water is in the morning. You want to get the water on the plants in the morning or in the evening. But at the farm, we always try to water in the morning. During this time of year, we're watering twice for our little seedlings because they're still in trays and they dry out quickly when it's warm and the wind picks up like this. So just be mindful of your seedlings. If they look dry, water them. Once they're in the field, I would say watering them once a day in the morning should be fine. But everyone's location is look at your soil, and if it looks dry, and if the plants look droopy, give them some water. But we haven't had a ton of rain here in Maine.
Yeah.
It's been super windy, which also
Yeah, dries
dries
out super
So we
fast.
have needed a lot
Yeah.
of water. So with seedlings, I'm watering twice a day. With plants, once a day in the morning.
Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions?
We're good.
Awesome, guys. Happy farming. Enjoy your week. And if you do have questions, write them down and we'll answer them. Happy farming!